Hey guys, I know it's been a while, but I'm back. I'm gonna do a little flint knapping video for you today, showing you how to make arrowheads out of ceramic floor tile. So let's jump right into it. So working this stuff is essentially the same as glass. We're gonna have the same principles and the same problems with flat surfaces and square edges. But if you notice, it's got that ceramic ring to it, which means it's solid, it's homogeneous, and will work well for arrowheads. So of course, as always, the one thing we want to do is get rid of that square edge. And I'm going to use antler today just because I'm feeling kind of abo. Just doing the zigzag pattern as I've shown in my other videos. Trying to crunch off that square edge. Every time I take a flake off, I use that flake removal as a platform for the next one. Now this stuff is a good bit tougher than glass, and it's actually a really good practice medium because it replicates, let's say a tougher grain rhyolite or even a quartzite or grainy flint that's tougher, that's in its raw form, and even basalt. So if you want a medium that you can really practice on, this is that will replicate natural materials. This is a great material to use. A little tougher, a little grainier, but it still flakes really well. Some of these thicker portions, I'll use the antler billet. Get a little bit more substantial flake off of it. Grinding that edge, I'm going to try and take one right off of that side there. Yeah, got a little one. There we go, got another one. Come back on the other side, send some the other way. Not really hitting this hard. I don't really want to smack it really hard. I just want some trim flakes to get those edges thinned out a little bit. I'll hold that tip too. There we go. And when you're doing this flaking like this with a billet on a small piece of stone or tile or whatever, accuracy is really important. You don't want to take, if you have a misstrike, it's really easy to break these. I took a bite out of the edge there, but that's okay. I'm not going for beauty on this thing, I'm just going for a utility tool. It's funny, I actually found these pieces of tile broken in the parking lot of my local Home Depot here, and picked them up, said, hey, that looks like that would work for points. And so I played around with it a little bit and said, oh yeah, that'll work. How to do a video on making points out of ceramic floor tile. Pretty much got those square edges off of that thing all the way around. I'm going to try to send some flakes over the surface to remove this textured pattern so it doesn't have that man-made look, and then this outside fired surface. So I'm going to set the edges up and we're going to start sending flakes. A platform set up here for this side. grinding it. Stuff is a little bit, even though it's a fired ceramic, it's a little bit chalky. I can see that it's grinding almost like a really compressed sandstone. Let's see what we can do with this. There we go. Got a flake off. It actually flakes surprisingly well, but like I said, this is very similar to a tougher quartzite or a rhyolite. Very similar to what you would find out there if you were searching for your own stone sources. It's actually a really good practice. Now, we may end up with some examples, some portions of this that we don't remove or cannot remove without risk of breaking the piece, but that's okay. I'm just going for a utility tool today. Here I'm doing very short, steep flakes. I'm not pressing in. I don't want those flakes to thin that edge out. I want that edge to be thick, steep, and strong so that it can support my next blows. Okay, grinding again. Same deal. We're going to hit on these on this stout platform. There it went, kind of hinged there. That platform may not have been set up exactly right, but that's all right. Like I said, just going for utility. Yep, there went another series of flakes. Okay, I don't like the way that edge looks, so I'm going to get rid of it. Little subtleties like that you start to see that you don't want to hit. I'm not going to strike this. I think I'm going to be pressure a little more precise. I'm not a huge fan of these slab shaped pieces because it's very easy to snap these because you don't have a lenticular cross section. Because these surfaces are flat, it's easy. Once a crack propagates, it'll snap this piece in half, as opposed to one that's been worked down and has that lenticular shape. It's better able to handle a missed strike or a little bit extra vibration. Pressing them in. This stuff, it's kind of behaving. It is behaving like a tough quartzite or a rhyolite. Those flakes do not want to travel quite as far. Very similar to some tougher materials that I've worked and seen used as tools in the prehistoric record. But gosh, I'll tell you, if I was able to get this fired surface off of this piece and you were to throw this thing in the dirt for a little while, almost impossible to tell it from an original point, because this material actually does look like something you would find out in nature. Here we're gonna have a little fun today and see if I can make this with all antler tools. Antlers getting a little dull here. Working these tougher materials that tend to wear out more quickly, so have to sharpen them soon. I really love using antler to chip with. It just, the only thing is the pain is that you got to keep your tools maintained a lot more frequently than you do with copper or horseshoe nails or steel nails. All right. Okay, we'll start. Actually, what I think I'll do is I'm going to take some small flakes off of that tip. There we go. Move down a little bit. Take another one. It's one little spot I want to hit right there. There it went. Yeah, see, now we're getting that fired surface off of there. There we go. So getting some more of that removed. I'm going to shoot one more in from this edge here. Yeah, look at that. Ooh. So I've got most of that removed. Now it won't take that much to get the rest of this removed because it's so close to that edge. If I can avoid using percussion here, I will. So every time you take these flakes off, you're thinning this piece and it gets weaker. Every time you take those flakes off, that piece is getting thinner, weaker, and it's easier to break. I think with this one we'll just make a stemmed point. This is usually really common pretty much everywhere you look. In the archaeological record they used a lot of different cultures. The Great Basin stemmed, they made stemmed points out there. They used them a lot here in the East Coast, very common. Savannah rivers, Appalachian points. Just being real careful. Take some flakes off this edge just to clean up this side, clean up the symmetry just a little bit. You can do that series of flakes just right along the edge like that at the same angle. You get those real pretty rippled parallel flake scars. And you're real careful on that tip. It's easy to break it. Not doing a lot of heavy grinding here either. I don't want to have to use too much pressure on that. Just doing a clean up on that edge. Well, there's the finished point. Man, that's just a cool looking point. I just really like the look of that, and made entirely with bone and antler and hammerstones. No modern materials touch this point. And it's not the prettiest point I've ever made, but you know what, it would work. The edges on this thing are sharp. It's got serrated edges, and the texture and the composition of this material just is really similar to stuff you would find out there in the wild. I'm telling you, if you threw that thing down on the ground somewhere and just let it patina a little bit, boy, you could fool some people with it. It just has that old look to it, and it's fun to make these things. They don't have to be perfect. I like to make them so that they actually mimic the old ones, and I've kind of gotten away from making these beautiful artsy pieces of work. I mean, I can do it, but it's fun to just get into the heads of the old guys and just make something that, it's good enough to use. And I'm sure any prehistoric hunter would have been more than happy to tip their spear with that point. But stemmed, looks just like the old ones you find out there. Not perfect, not symmetrical, got a few step fractures in it, but got a good shape. And that's just a really cool point. I really enjoy making stuff like that.